Hello and welcome back to our study of 2nd Samuel, and we are in chapter 13 today. And 13 is a little bit of a longer one, so we're just going to dive right in. And it came to pass after this that Absalom the son of David had a fair sister whose name was Tamar, and Amnon the son of David loved her. And Amnon was so vexed that he fell sick for his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin, and Amnon thought it hard for him to do anything to her. For Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother. But Jonadab was a very subtle man. And he said unto him, Why art thou, being the king's son, lean from day to day? Wilt thou not tell me? And Amnon said unto him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said unto him, Lay thee down on thy bed, and make thyself sick. And when thy father cometh to see thee, say unto him, I pray thee, let my sister Tamar come and give me meat, and dress the meat in my sight, that I may see it and eat it at her hand. So, at this point, the Lord had forgiven David's sins of adultery and murder, but he did tell him there's going to be consequences to his sins. So consequences to David's sins. And as we know, David had multiple wives, which was not God's intention. Many people take this out of context because they see many men in the Bible having multiple wives. They think, oh, it's okay. That's not how it works. It's not what God's intention was. And as we can see here, the situation is about to unfold where that's going to, the polygamy is going to come, and we're going to see the consequences of it. So we've got Amnon here, who's David's son, and he's become a bit infatuated with Tamar, who is his half-sister from obviously another mother. So we've got an issue here where Amnon's cousin is suggesting a deceitful plan to help him be alone with Tamar. It sounds awful already. I can only imagine how bad it's about to get. Okay. So Amnon lay down and made himself sick. And when the king was come to see him, Amnon said unto the king, I pray thee, let Tamar my sister come, and make me a couple of cakes in my sight, that I may eat at her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, Go now to thy brother Amnon's house, and dress him meat. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, and he was laid down. And she took flour and kneaded it, and made cakes in his sight, and did bake the cakes. And she took him a pan, and poured them out before him, but he refused to eat. And Amnon said, Have out all men from me. And they went out every man from him. And Amnon said unto Tamar, Bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat out of thine hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them into the chamber to Amnon her brother. And when she had brought them unto him to eat, he took hold of her, and said unto her, Come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, Nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly. Dear, and I, whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Howbeit he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her. It's awful. And Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred wherewith he hated her was greater than the love wherewith he had loved her. And Amnon said unto her, Arise, be gone. And she said unto him, There is no cause. This evil in sending me away is greater than the other that thou didst unto me. But he would not hearken unto her. Oh, wow. Okay. So poor Tamar was just doing a kind thing for her sick half-brother. And he forced himself on her. And she said, it's sending her away after defiling her like that would be humiliating for Tamar. It would ruin her life, really, because it would disgrace her. And she even suggested for him to take her as a wife instead. Tamar. And requested being his wife instead, which is still not ideal, but she didn't want to be shamed. I'm sorry, I was talking while writing and wrote the wrong words. Okay, shameful for Tamar, and requested being his wife instead. But he'd already made a decision about the sin he wanted. Amnon wouldn't listen. And he was decided on his sin. So just like David was before him, he was blinded by lust and couldn't see the consequences of such actions. So Amnon, like his father, blinded by lust, and he didn't know or care of the consequences at the time. And he called his servant that ministered unto him and said, Put now this woman out from me, and bolt the door after her. And she had a garment of divers colours upon her, for with such robes were the king's daughters that were virgins apparelled. Then his servant brought her out and bolted the door after her. So, a very poor character. He even said, the hate he had for her was greater than the love he had for her, which he mentioned in 15. I mean, that's actually what I point there, low character. It's pretty disgusting after what he just did to her as well. So his love was just, self-centered lust, and the way he treated her afterwards demonstrated that. So because he had robbed her of her virginity, really what he ought to do was marry her and honour her, but he didn't. He just sent her away like a piece of garbage because she wouldn't have any other offers for marriage due to not being a virgin here. So he didn't care, and what he did was he did what his father did, and he compounded his sin. Instead of doing the right thing and marrying her, he compounded his sin. Ugh. Okay. And Tamar put ashes on her head, and rent her garment of divers colours that was on her, and laid her hand on her head, and went on crying. And Absalom her brother said unto her, Hath Amnon thy brother been with thee? But now hold thy peace, my sister, he is thy brother, regard not this thing. So Tamar remained desolate in her brother Absalom's house. But when King David heard of all these things, he was very wroth. And Absalom spake unto his brother Amnon, neither good nor bad, for Absalom hated Amnon, because he had forced his sister Tamar. And it came to pass that after 2 full years, that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal-hazor, which is beside Ephraim, and Absalom invited all the king's sons. So obviously Tamar was in absolute distress. Tamar in distress, just her life was ruined in a moment. Her brother saw her and, comforted her and told her to keep it quiet, but David found out and he was furious, as you would expect. However, even though he was furious, he did nothing to punish Amnon. I mean, what's up? And didn't punish Amnon. But fortunately, her brother Absalom was utterly disgraced, and he had a plan. But Amnon wouldn't let that go unpunished. Had a plan. Right. came to pass, I read that, sorry. And Absalom came unto the king, came to the king and said, Behold now, thy servant hath sheep shearers. Let the king, I beseech thee, and his servants go with thy servant. And the king said to Absalom, Nay, my son, let us not all go, lest we be chargeable unto thee. And he pressed him, howbeit he would not go, but blessed him. Then said Absalom, If not, I pray thee, let my brother Amnon go with us. And the king said unto him, Why should he go with thee? But Absalom pressed him that he let Amnon and all the king's sons go with him. So it was 2 years later, but he had not forgotten Absalom. 2 years later, then he arranged a get-together for all the king's sons, and he was very insistent that Amnon, who is David's firstborn, would come. So let's see. Absalom insisted. All sons came, especially Amnon. Oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to read that. That is scribble at this point. Especially Amnon. So 2 full years, hadn't forgotten. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, Mark ye now when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say unto you, Smite Amnon, then kill him. Fear not, have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant. And the servants of Absalom did unto Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man gat him up upon his mule and fled. Ooh. So they killed Amnon, and everyone just ran off. Okay. And it came to pass, while they were in the way, that tidings came to David, saying, Absalom hath slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. And the king arose, and tare his garments, and lay on the earth, and his servants stood by with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shimeah, David's brother, answered and said, Let not my lord suppose that they have slain all the young men, the king's sons, for Amnon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, his hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. Now therefore let not my lord the king take the thing to heart, to think that all the king's sons are dead, for Amnon only is dead. But Absalom fled, and the young man that kept the watch lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there came much people by the way of the hillside behind him. And Jonadab said unto the king, Behold, the king's sons come, as thy servant said. So it is. And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of speaking, that behold, the king's sons came, and lifted up their voice, and wept. And the king also, and all his servants, wept very sore. So, after killing Amnon, all the brothers fled, but before they managed to get home, David had somehow got a false report that all the boys were killed. But it was quickly proven false, and David was reunited, and they all wept together. Everyone cried together. So David received a false report of all his sons being killed. But Abraham fled and went to Tamar, the son of Ammihud, king of Geshur, and David mourned for his son every day. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat today. And the soul of King David longed to go forth into Absalom, for he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. So Absalom fled home to his grandfather. So misjudged how much space that would take. So Absalom went home to his grandfather and he stayed there for 3 years. And then King David really wanted to go to see Absalom as he had finished grieving. So the soul of King David, he really wanted to see his son. Okay, so at this point Absalom is going to return to Jerusalem and we're going to see what happens there, but I have a feeling we've only just begun seeing the consequences of David's sin. But we'll find out tomorrow. I won't read on. It is tempting, but I won't at this point because that was quite a good chapter, a long chapter. Devastating story in it, but really shows just how severe the consequences of sin can be. And if it gets worse, I mean, that says a lot, doesn't it? So yeah, back to the message of always reflecting and repenting on our sins. Okay, as always, leave your comments in the section below and I will love to read them and get back to you. And join me tomorrow for our chapter 14. Have a great day. Bye.